Okay.
What gets me upset is the alarm. That's one. Then two, maybe secondary, like after that,
Yes.
after the alarm has gone off and then I'm getting up, I think to myself it is worthwhile. And honestly, sometimes I think of the consequences of not being there. I know that a lot would happen. There would be a lot of chaos if I don't show up in the hospital, if I don't attend to the emergency patients and all of that. Yes, but first off, the alarm that gets me up. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Finuela. Jane? Are you on the call, Jane? Okay, who wants to go in place of Jane? Let's hear from Molly.
Good evening, everyone. This is Molly from Uganda. Yes.
Hi, Molly.
The reason why I wake up in the morning and do whatever I do is also to earn a modest living. Yeah, I think that is basically all. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I love that there was a diverse answers. So there was the love for the job that we do because of the people we serve in both Finuela's answers and also Precious's answers, and the alarm, which is very real. To say sometimes we need that extra push out of bed. And also we need the money. Being an adult means bills, so we need the money as well. Thank you so much for participating, the three ladies. I'll hand it back to Success so that we can get on with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hi, can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Thank you very much, Phoebe, for helping us through that session. So we also had a few comments in the chat. It was good to read through everyone's reason. Well, there are actually more than one reason why we actually do the work we do. But I think the major one is the core of our being. And I believe that's what we've shared. And not to take much time now, I would hand it over to Jiwon. So Jiwon, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself. Let's know what you do. And then you can start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Success. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening or good morning, depending on your time zone. I am G1 Akwe. I'm in Liberia in West Africa, and it's so nice to be a part of this with all of you. Am I audible? Can you all hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So I work with Lead Monrovia Football Academy. That is an NGO that is running a school that provides academic education, leadership training, as well as football training to students from across Liberia. So I work there as the life skills and communications officer. And I'm just trying to share my screen so that you can see the presentation that we'll be going through today. It's taking a bit to load. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please. We can see your screen.
Okay. So today we will be looking at project management in the digital age. And This is an outline of the different sections of today's presentation. I was told that I have 20 minutes, so I'll try to keep it brief. So bear in mind that this is just an overview. Project management is a whole thing, but I'll try to give you an overview and give some recommendations for further learning if you want to explore this subject more and develop that skill. So currently I'm doing the welcome and brief introduction. After that, we'll look at what project management is. And then we'll look at the project lifecycle and different project management methodologies. And then we'll look into essential digital tools for project management. As we're saying, we're looking at project management in the digital age. So we'll look at digital tools that are essential for that. Then we'll also look at case study. Basically, it will just be me sharing briefly on the time that I managed a project, and I'll highlight the different digital tools that I used to make that project successful as someone working in a digital world today. And then I'll give some recommendations for you to continue learning if you're interested in that. And we'll close and of course go into the Q&A section. All right. Is my pace okay or am I going too fast? Are you still with me? Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen and we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So what is project management? This definition was taken from the Google Project Management course, just to cite the source. It is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. So when you're implementing a project, it's often led by either a project manager or program manager. So you, as the project manager, you have certain skills, knowledge, you have some tools that have been made available to you, and you use them in order to meet the requirement of that particular project. So the difference between a project manager and a program manager, if you're curious about that, is a project manager is someone that was brought on board to manage one specific project. A program manager, on the other hand, works with an entity and is usually given responsibility to manage multiple projects. There may be multiple projects going on at the same time or one after the other. So they are not just hired for one particular project. Now, project management, as someone coming from the NGO sector, I used to think that it's just something that is used commonly by NGOs or development organizations. However, it's actually commonly used in industries like construction, IT, marketing, and engineering. So this is something that is important to note because we may come from different sectors, but in any sector you work in, project management can be useful for you. And there are two methods that are popular in our digital age today, two methodologies, the Agile and the Waterfall methodologies. We'll go into them later in the presentation. Now, I want us to talk about the project life cycle. There are 4 phases of a typical project life cycle. So we have the initiating phase. This is where you meet with stakeholders, that is people who are supplying resources to the project, those who want the project, and maybe the beneficiaries of the project. And you work with them to set the expectations, to know what do they expect, what do they envision to see in as the project is completed, what do they hope to see when the project is completed. And then you set the foundation for the project. This is very important because key emphasis on the word foundation. If you get this right, you will be going in the right direction. Otherwise, you may do all the work and realize that you did not achieve what was actually hoped for because you did not clearly capture the expectations. Then we come to the planning phase. Here is where you set your project up for success with a detailed plan. So here you'll be looking at the timeline you were given. How can you make up certain milestones to get toward the end of the project? If it's a 1-year project, what are you going to achieve in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and so on? And then you break down each milestone into tasks, which tasks that you have to achieve in order to reach a certain milestone and then get to the end of the project successfully. Here in the planning phase, you will also work on a detailed budget. And as you're doing this, you are reviewing it with the stakeholders, that is, those who are supporting the project, those who asked you to do the project, to make sure that it is in line with what they want. And then we have the executing phase. Here you are going to be carrying out the actual project. You will be implementing the tasks that you set out in your plan. And as the project manager, you will be addressing any issues that arise. And definitely issues will arise as you implement your project. Things will not go exactly according to the plan, no matter how great the plan is. That is why the project manager is there to check on everyone, to ensure you manage different issues that come up, and to make sure that the execution goes on smoothly. After that, we have the closing of the project. Many times people overlook this part because here the work is already done. So it's like, it's over, it's okay. But the closing is very important. Here you will have to confirm with those who gave you the project to do if the project was acceptable. You are here to record the success stories, to reflect on lessons learned, and keep those records because it can be useful for future. You are also going to use this time to share your project results, whether it's with the stakeholders or if it's not a confidential project with social media, for example, your entity's social media can know that you successfully hosted a webinar, or you were able to implement the AWEP program and work with these number of women. You can share those results. And lastly, celebrate. The celebration part is very important, especially if you happen to be a program manager who is working with the same team and you may have other projects in the future. When you celebrate the end of one project, it helps to boost morale for the future activities. So that's it for project lifecycle. I'll just keep going, and if you have questions as I'm going through anything, just note them down. During the Q&A, we'll address them. Now we'll talk about the project management methodologies. So this is another definition that's also taken from the Google Project Management course. A project management methodology is a set of guiding principles and processes for owning a project through its life cycle. So we've talked about the project life cycle. The methodology is like something that you use to guide how you get from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. It helps you to not just implement anyhow. You are intentional about what method you want to use and how you want to get to the end of this project. So there are two main methodologies that are used today, even though there are several others, but these two are well known. And each of these have sub methodologies or different versions of them that have come up. But for the sake of time, we'll just cover the two methodologies in the sense of getting their definitions. So the waterfall approach, or the waterfall project management approach, involves a sequential ordering of phases. So it's completed one at a time, and you go down the line, like the waterfall starts from the top of the mountain and it flows down to the bottom. So you go from the planning phase, from the initiation phase, to the planning, to the execution, and to the closing of the project. Usually, this method is used for things like construction work, manufacturing, because when you're constructing, it's very set that you have to start from the foundation and then go up. You cannot decide to do the windows today and then do the walls tomorrow and then consider doing the floors or the roof. You have to carry it in a particular order. So certain methodologies work for certain kinds of projects. You can still use this with other types of project if you want, but this method is useful when you are clear from the start exactly what your goal is to the end, what your vision is for the project. You are clear on the resources that are available. You have a more accurate estimation of what it will cost and everything, and you have the people already. Then you can use this method because it's not very flexible, but it can be used for things that are already straight to the point. Then we have the agile approach. This one is more flexible and open. You can change and adapt as you go along. Here, the project phases that we talked about, they can overlap and tasks are completed in iterations. So you may have sub-teams in the project team. Some people may be working on one aspect of the project and they have already launched that aspect and tested it and they are executing. And after execution, they present their results and then take it back to the drawing board and go back to the planning phase while another group is in another phase. So it's a very flexible approach. There's a lot of changes going on as you are implementing the project. The plan is not just a fixed thing that has to be followed exactly as it was written. And these projects are most suitable for things like website development or building apps where you test different versions of it, different aspects of it as you go along. But it can also be used for any other project, especially if the person who wants the project has an idea of what the vision is, but they're not so clear how they want to get there, then you can do it in iterations and get feedback as you go. Now we're going to talk about some essential tools for project management in the digital age. And when it comes to the aspect of task management, there are different tools that you can use. We have Asana, Notion, Google Calendar, and one that I'll talk about a little more is Notion. Here you can be able to list your to-do tasks that you have to do, and then you can transfer them to another column of the ones that are ongoing, and you can transfer the ones that are already done to another column. So with this, you as a project manager, you can be able to track the different tasks. You can track your own tasks that you have to do. You can also track tasks of your team and be able to remind them because you have a visual of what the team should be working on. So these are tools that you can take your time to explore and see which one will work best for you. And then we have communication aspect. For the communication, there's a platform called Slack that can be used. Then there's also WhatsApp, which I'm sure you're familiar with because I think there's even a WhatsApp group for those who are part of this program. And then there's email, of course. So for managing, for example, if your project has a group of beneficiaries that are being part of the project, you can have a Slack platform for them or a WhatsApp platform. And if you have several projects going on, you can even have a community with several group chats in the community as WhatsApp does. Slack has a similar thing. I don't know if they call it community, but it's similar like that. And you can use email, of course, to communicate with individuals or even with groups. You can CC a bunch of people to one email. So those are tools you need to know about in the digital age. There are also tools for file sharing, like Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive, which is with Microsoft. And you can use these to store files, whether it's a media file or a document, you can use this to store those files and keep your records of your project as you go along. We also have collaboration tools like Google Workspace, where you will find Google Doc that you can work remotely with people and edit the same Word document, or a PowerPoint or an Excel sheet. There are several different things you can do in Google Workspace when you're working remotely. And there's also Canva if you have something that you want to look more, to include more media, for example, a lot more pictures or videos, and you're working on it, whether it's a report or it's a flyer and stuff like that. You can also collaborate with people on it using Canva. And then we have platforms for virtual meetings, like one that we are in right now. If you are managing a project that involves people from different countries, like this one, you can use platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams. And there are others, but these are the ones that I could list here. And you can use those. Another one that I should have included, but that I didn't, is social media platform, of course. For projects that are public that you want to maybe raise awareness and let people know the work you're doing to maybe get more support, it's good to use platforms, social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and share the work that you're doing in this digital age. That is very important. Now I'm going to share briefly about a project that I implemented recently, and I'll highlight the digital tools that I used. So in February, I managed a project at work, which is a lead MFA, and we hosted a leadership seminar for 55 adolescent girls from 5 schools in the Carisburg district. That's where the school is located, is here in Liberia. And to do this, I had to communicate with the different schools to get them to bring students to attend the workshop. So I had to use email to communicate with them. I also had to email the 3 facilitators that we're inviting. In this picture, this is one of the 3 sessions that we had. So we had 3 external facilitators come and host leadership workshops with the students, and this is just one of the 3 sessions. And I had to email those facilitators. I also had to email the panelists because there was a general panel discussion session where we had women who are already leaders come and share with these adolescent girls their experience of becoming leaders and maintaining their leadership roles in the different sectors that they work in. So I had to email those women as well. And as you may know, some people do not check their emails on time. So I had to use WhatsApp to communicate with them and follow up to make sure that they got their emails checked. So that's another digital tool that I could use. And then for the facilitators, we had to do a little meeting to make sure we are on the same page before the day of the leadership seminar. So I used Zoom to host that meeting and have that discussion with them. We also had to do a concept note before even getting the leadership seminar started, and we had to do a report at the end of the leadership seminar. So for the concept note and the report, my teammates and I at work, we used Google Doc, and we were able to collaborate with one another to refine our work and get it done. At the end of the workshop, of course, we had to use social media platforms to share a post about what we did that day and inform, our community that we're able to host a successful leadership workshop. So those are some tools that we got to use, some digital tools. If you look here, you will see that some of the tools I just mentioned are listed here. So it depends on the nature of your project, but there are different tools that you can use. Is everything okay? I think Jane has her mic open. Can I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, so these are my recommendations for further learning. There is if you want to learn more about project management, develop that skill, which I would suggest because it's a very useful skill regardless of your sector. You can take the Google Project Management course with Google Classroom. Just Google it and you'll see the course. And they have scholarships available like financial aid. You can just write, you just have to fill in the form and write about. You just need to fill in the form and write why you cannot afford to pay for the course, and you stand a chance to actually access the course for free. But there's also a fee. If you are able to pay the fee, you can take the course. It could help you to develop more your skills as a project manager. There's also the aspect of volunteering your time. Learning by doing is one of the most effective ways to learn. So you can volunteer your time, you can work with others who are managing projects and learn from how they do it. You can also volunteer to manage simple projects and start small. For example, if you're in a class and maybe the class wants to organize a year-end party, you can volunteer to do that. Or if your church wants to organize a workshop for the youth, you can volunteer to be the organizer. That is a project that you have to manage. You don't have to be the one to teach the workshop, but you can organize how to contact the teachers, how to contact the participants, how to put things together, all that. That is project management. So those are things I would suggest that you do if you want to learn more about being a good project manager. Because as you do this, you develop skills that can be transferred even into the workplace. Even if the project you practice on is not in the workplace, you develop good communication skills, teamwork skills, time management, and those are skills that are useful for a project manager in the workplace. So thank you for your time. It's an honor to share with you, and I would like for us to keep in touch if you are interested in networking more. My LinkedIn is G1M Akoye, and my email address is here. And also that's the website to lead Monrovia Football Academy if you're interested in learning more about the kind of work we do. Thank you, and I'll stop here for now.
Hi, Joan. Thank you so much. That was such a simple but very packed presentation. I really appreciate that. Phoebe will be leading us through the question and answer session. So if you have any questions, please put that in the chat. Just to start us off, I have a question. Phoebe, you can take over once I give that question. I keep seeing, you know, doing job descriptions, or like when people are asking for a skilled professional in project management, there's this thing I see they're always requesting that you must have an experience in agile project management. So does this mean that of all the methodologies of project management, agile seems to be like the most modern, or the one that most businesses and NGOs prefer to use? Because they keep asking for experience in agile. So I would like to have clarity on that. So I don't know how you want to run the question and answer session, TV, but the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Okay, let me just say, so for the Q&A, for those who want to write their questions in the chat, you can write it there. I'll address all at once. But for those who are saying their question out, I would like to address it as it comes so that I don't lose track of all the questions that were asked. So I'll start by answering Success's question, and then others can continue writing theirs in the chat if they want. So yes, like I said, Agile and Waterfall are both methods that are still being used today. But I can totally understand why a lot of entities will look for someone who is good at agile project management. That's because our world today is very unpredictable. And like I said, the agile method is more flexible. You can be able to have several aspects of the project running at the same time, going in front and then going back to the planning stage to relook at certain things as you implement. So if you're someone who really wants to access more opportunities to work as a project manager, I would suggest you look into learning more about Agile. In the Google Project Management course, they even have a specific section of the course that is specifically on Agile project management. They look at the Scrum method, which is also a sub branch of Agile project management. So yes, I get it that a lot of companies are looking for people who know how to manage projects with the Agile methodology because it works best for the kind of world we're in now where things are unpredictable. I hope I answered your question.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Joanne. Any other questions from the audience? Or even if it's not a question, maybe it's an addition, a comment. This is welcome. Anyone? So it's either the presentation was very, very clear, should we take the silence as this was well understood? Or anyone to even share their experience with using their digital tools for project management? That would be a good case study as well.
Hi, Phoebe. Maybe
Hello.
it should be sort of like a question, comment per se. about project management in the digital age. So maybe looking at how the presentation was structured, if I got it correct, mostly they were tools. The tools that we're talking about, social media, etc., was about how to then okay, the way that I then got it or I understood it was that there are certain tools to use to communicate whilst doing a project, right? I'm asking the presenter. I'm not sure if the presenter did touch on maybe use of Excel and maybe Google Calendar or Google Planner or Teams, like the tools that you can actually then use to maybe track the money or the budget, to track whether you're on track with your budget, to track whether you are on track with the timeline, to say if you were supposed to perform a certain activity within the project in a matter of 2 weeks, are you on track to meet that? So maybe if she can speak to that, if she did not address it. I hope it makes sense what I've asked G1.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that. So I touched on it a bit, but yes, I didn't go into too much detail. I'm trying to take it back to that slide so that we can talk about it a bit more. That is very important. So, like what you were saying about tracking your tasks to make sure that you're on schedule, that's why I mentioned these apps. They are for task management: Google Calendar, Notion, Asana. So I cannot explain too much about how it works here because of the timing, but these are apps that you can look into and see which will work better for you for tracking tasks. For tracking your budget, working in Excel, I did mention Google Workspace, but also thank you for mentioning that. You can also use Microsoft Office, of course. This is usually offline, but you can even share the files online, and you can use that to to work on your budget in Excel and then share it with others. There's also what's this other financial management that a lot of people use these days? QuickBooks. There's also QuickBooks that people use to manage the financial records as they are implementing projects. So you can use those to also track your budget and keep records of your financial expenses so that you can easily do your financial reporting at the end of your project. So here I was looking more at sharing or collaborating online. So that's why I focused on the Google Workspace. But in Google Workspace, you have Google Sheets, which is kind of like Excel. And you can use that also to maybe collaborate with other colleagues as you're discussing the budget. You can share it with them on using Google Sheets. But for offline use, for your individual use, you can use QuickBooks or Microsoft Excel and manage those. Do you feel like I addressed the question, or is there
Yes,
some?
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was actually good. I thought it would also just give a bit more perspective on um managing projects in totality. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Onesai. Any other question that you would like addressed? A specific question maybe on a tool that was mentioned that maybe you'd want do you want to spend a few minutes speaking about? Or a recommendation for tools maybe that were not mentioned during the presentation that you've found helpful in your work? Anyone? Okay, so if there's no questions or comments, I would like to invite Success to speak to us about. I'm not sure because I went off at the very beginning. I'm not sure if Success had spoken about the entirety of the program, of what like how it's structured, not just for the monthly sessions, but how you can also benefit from the project. So I'll ask Success to come on. But thank you so much, Juan, for the lovely presentation. Thank you so much for your time on this Saturday afternoon. You took your time to just come to talk to us about these different tools that we can use in our everyday projects, whether it's introducing them in our employment at work or even in our personal projects. I know most of us have projects that we are doing. That's one of the things that WMI is known for, is that we're community leaders that are either running businesses or we are managing our own NGOs or organizations or projects. So I trust that the tools and the digital tools and digital skills that we were spoken to about will be very helpful. Thank you so much again, Joanne, for your time and for your presentation. Yes, thank you. So I will hand it back to Success to speak to us about the other parts of the projects, the benefits of the program, and then she'll also give us the closing remarks. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Phoebe, for that session. And I want to say thank you, ladies. Thank you for being here. It was really short notice for this particular meeting, but you all tried and you're here. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the nice comments. And really, Jiwon, this was a very detailed, precise presentation. I've not really attended any session on project management. And right now, I feel like I've known more than I've ever known on project management. And now I understand the different types of methodologies and why this would work for a certain project and wouldn't work for another project. And really, like what Phoebe mentioned, this particular topic is very essential for us as WMI scholars because you keep seeing us in different aspects of our life doing projects, whether it's community service or we're running our professional projects. So thank you very much. So I want to just briefly talk on this program, like Advancing Women Economic Power, because I had gotten some insights that a good number of us are not really fully aware of what this program offers. And I just want to do like a very brief layman explanation of what it's all about. So the Advancing Women's Economic Power program is like a WMI initiative. It's a WMI initiative for just the female scholars in WMI. Like you have a lot of opportunities. And why this program was started is because we noticed that a lot of us, especially the female scholars, don't really get access to the CDG grant. So G1, the CDG grant is the Community Development Grant. It's an aspect of WMI funding for graduate scholars to be able to do projects in their own countries, what they want to do for their communities. And we have different aspects of this grant. We have the seed grant and the growth grant. And based on statistics, the female scholars have received less than the male scholars. So it's more of a program where we want to give more of these grants to the female scholars. And how do we do that? We want to make it in a way that we are not just empowering them with the knowledge on how to apply for this grant, but we're giving them knowledge on how to also build their businesses, how to build their nonprofits and have access to these grants to help them fund these projects. So that's why we're having this particular topic being shared with us, because at the end of the day, we want to have female scholars that are able to manage these projects when they are funded. So you see where it's all coming together. So please, if you have any female scholar in your network that's a WMI scholar, please just invite them, let them know that this is something that is for the benefit of the female scholars within WMI community. And we also have an opportunity with the CDG, that's the grants coordinator, Bonnie Mark. He's able to, have one-on-one sessions with you. So you just would share his email address in the group, and you can reach out to him. You can ask him to train you on anything, whether it's budgeting, just for every one of us that is present and part of this program. If I'm breaking up, please let me just turn off my video so my internet is not so. So this Advanced Women Economic Power Program is going to strengthen us as women. It's going to bond us as female scholars within WMI who are doing great things and empowering themselves in their community. So please always reach out to your fellow WMI scholars if you have not been attending. Thank you very much. This session will be available for everyone, both those that are not present here and everyone who's present, so that we can always go back to it and listen through. Yeah, let me see. Third Saturday of every month, that's when we have our meeting. Please, sorry for the short notice once again, but the next one will be on May 17th, same time, 9 a.m. EST. So we are going to try to publish earlier than we did this period so that you can have time to prepare and invite as many WMI scholars that you know to attend. If you've not registered to become an official member, register. You can also share, but I believe everyone here have registered. Yeah, I believe everyone here have registered. And we have volunteers who would also share the resources with you once they are ready. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are closing right on time, and I'm very grateful for that. If you have any other comments, any questions, please, you're welcome to that in the chat or any application. Say bye and call it a day today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Anasai.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Thank you.